Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Ryuga Talks for Far Too Long ASMR video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about fun to verse killers. Which ones are the most fun? Which ones are the least fun? Now, obviously, this is going to be purely my opinion, backed by nothing but straight facts. Everybody else is wrong. My opinion is the only one that matters. So let's go ahead and jump into it. These tiers are not in order, by the way. So everything in the preferable is all on one level. I don't place them in order. For example, the first one is not going to be more preferable than the last one on that list. They're all grouped up. Now, if I do feel a certain way about a certain killer, I will explain that while I'm talking about it. For example, if I have 5 or whatever and please delete this killer, I'll probably point out which one is my absolute least favorite killer to go against and makes me want to blow a hole in my head. In game, of course. And we'll just go from there. So thank you guys for watching. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'll try to put timestamps of when I talk about every single killer in the description. Hopefully I don't forget, but I'm going to do that. So let's go ahead and start this tier list off. At my least favorite killer in this entire game is the Hillbilly. Now, I'm sure people are going to be up in arms about this because there's like, you know, the whole Hillbilly community. Everybody loved Billy, prayed for his rework, all of this stuff. I hated Hillbilly even before his rework. I thought a speedy one-shot killer is the most obnoxious thing. Most people who mained Billy, not to call anybody out, but they got, anytime I versed them, would get upset when I didn't let them go for curves, as if, you know, it was some kind of like personal vendetta. They'd be like, oh, this guy's not letting me go for curves. He's so boring. He's throwing pallets. Like, I personally thought that hillbillies that went for curves were really boring to go against because they played suboptimally. Going for curves was shitty because you just play all the check spots correctly and then throw the pallet if he gets close. Now his rework, he goes Mach 2 billion speed. He has no recovery and overheat. It's like he gets overheat before he even finds the first chase because he chainsaws across the map. I just hate it. The recovery is ridiculous. I feel like I can't do anything against him. His curving and overheat is crazy. And I don't like pre-throwing pallets a lot. But I feel like if I don't pre-throw a pallet against the Hillbilly, I just fucking die. That's not really that interactive for me. And he was given such a grace with his rework that I think he's just too strong now. And he's just so unenjoyable. A Mach 200 speed killer that can curve as well as that and is one-shotting everybody, I just don't like him. He's not fun for me. Anytime I load into the match, I just audibly sigh. That's my opinion, of course. I just don't like him. I think he's way overtuned. You know, it feels so good to juke him, and then he runs out of overheat just to get overheat 5 seconds later, or pretty much nothing. So I think they need to go back and, you know, look at him a little bit, maybe give him a cooldown. You know how there was overheat for the last Hillbilly? Maybe after overdrive, he can't use his chainsaw for 15 seconds, because if you didn't down me, that's totally on you, buddy. If you didn't use your overheat well enough or your overcharge, whatever. I'm interchanging these words, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So, ranted about him for a while. You can tell how much I hate him. Let's go on to the next killer. Next killer I don't really like, I would definitely prefer it to be deleted from the game, is the nurse. The reason I hate the nurse so much is because she kind of breaks the regular gameplay loop of pallet looping, and I think that's what gives Dead by Daylight its identity, is in terms of gameplay, is just being able to have fun interactions with these killers in terms of looping the pallets, looping the jungle gems, you know, knowing your fast faults on windows, your check spots, all of that stuff, which you do have some of that against nurse, don't get me wrong. But nowadays, it feels like the only nurses that you enjoy, or at least I enjoy going against, are ones that are really bad. Because if they just miss their blinks, then you feel like you're juicing them, right? But if it's a good nurse and they're just shitting on you, it's not a good feeling. Her just being able to teleport everywhere, and you pretty much praying that you outplay her, or that she blinks wrong, or she misses you, is a bad feeling. And I know there is a little bit of, you know, mind gaming involved. You can fool a nurse to blink one way or that way or whatever, double back, all that kind of stuff. But let's be real, in close vicinity, a lot of those blinks are usually all on the nurse. If the nurse misses you, a lot of the time, it's the nurse's fault and not your fault. And that kind of interaction, to me, is extremely, extremely boring. And I would rather disconnect than play against the nurse. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next killer in this list. So the next killer I'd like to delete is the twins. I just don't think they're fun to interact with. Something about Victor being sent out, him being so fucking fast, not being able to get chase points against Victor because he doesn't start the chase. It's just really not fun. You know, I do have some fun games against the twins, but overall, the interaction between twins, Victor, and the team, it just doesn't do it for me. Every time I hear the twins, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go against the twins. It's, oh my gosh, this is going to be a fucking boring ass game. You do have some satisfaction sometimes of like kicking Victor, but this killer, in my opinion, is very dreadful because in order to play them optimally, you have to slug, and when the slugging starts happening, everything just hits the fan. It's really, really just not healthy gameplay loop. I would just prefer that this killer not be in the game, and I think it would just be a better experience for everybody. Fuck this killer, fuck the twins. I hope Victor trips and hits his head on a rock and dies. All right, and we are going to end this with one more killer in this tier, and that's going to be the Trickster. I used to love the Trickster. I used to think he was fun in Chase, but now they made him get main event every 2 fucking seconds. I don't even know what iteration they're on. I kind of enjoyed his first iteration with his main event. I do think they could have found some kind of healthy medium, but now he just throws some knives, gets a main event instantly, and it's just so boring. And he's 115 now, by the way, which I don't know why they did that. It's just so crazy to me. Facing this killer is so boring because he can literally miss 30 of his knives and then hit you with 10 of them, get main event, and then put it in your butt. The one other thing that I really dislike about him is the fact that if you are going in for an unhook, all he has to do is throw a few knives, get main event, and then he can just kill both of you off the hook instantly. It's just brain dead interaction. Not a fun killer to verse. Even if you like dodge some of his knives or whatever, it really doesn't matter. I think the DK needs to happen faster from, you know, the lacerations. Maybe then he'd be a bit more tolerable, because sometimes I'm at like whatever, how many lacerations you need? 7 or something like that. And I'm running around these loops. He hasn't hit me for like 5 or 10 seconds and I'm still red. Like, can it tick down? Like, bro, stopped hitting me. It's really obnoxious. Not interactive. You don't feel rewarded, really, when you like get out of his line of sight and avoid him for a while, because it takes so long to decay. This killer is just absolutely miserable to go against, and I would prefer literally anything other than this. Out of all the killers in this tier list, I hate Hillbilly the most. Whatever they did to him, fuck Hillbilly. It's just not fun. I don't like him. Wow, I haven't done one of these just talking for a while videos, and I can already tell my throat is starting to hurt. I don't know how people do these commentary things for so long. Okay, let's move on to meh. It's below tolerable. So basically these killers are ones that I load in and I'm just like, like, I would really rather not be in this match. But they do have interactions that can be fun, but for the most part, I would rather not face them. You know, it's just one of those things where I just roll my eyes. I'm like, whatever. It's either going to be a good game or it's going to be pretty bad. So let's go ahead and start those lists. We're going to throw Pig up there. Now, Pig is on the weaker side, very weak in Chase. You can have some pretty fun mind games with her dash when you are facing her. Now, the reason she's so far down here, this is completely anecdotal evidence, but every time I go against a Pig, they put a head trap on people, and then they just tunnel them. And every time in my head, I'm like, you do realize that the head traps are slowing the game down. You tunneling them completely defeats the purpose of the head trap being active in the fucking game. It's so brain dead. Like, there's a reason for the head trap to slow the game down, and you're actively tunneling that person and not slowing the game down. It makes no fucking sense. And every Pig I go against does that shit. If they don't do that, Pig can actually be pretty fun to go against. Now, once again, here's some anecdotal evidence. Every time I play against Pig, it's usually the final box for me. I think one time I got it off on my first try, but I think in the last few months of facing Pig, and I'm not even exaggerating, I don't really like to make up lies just to make up lies, it's been the last solve every fucking time. It's just not really fun for me. Every Pig I go against just plays like a dick. And that's the way that they play. They just tunnel the head traps. Like, okay. So that's why she's in the Mets here. Don't really like her. She can have some fun mind games. Weekend chase, so the M1 part of her can be fun and engaging, but once she starts getting the head traps out, it's like, okay, well, now they're tunneling the head trap, and I feel bad because I can't do anything to help myself or help my teammates because they're just going to fucking die. So. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have the Huntress. I just don't like ranged killers very much. And especially don't like the quality of life changes that they gave her. What does she have now? 7 or 8 hatchets? I don't feel good dodging her hatchets anymore because now she has a fucking like artillery infantry like belt strapped to her fucking shoulder. It doesn't matter how many I dodge, she has more. And I don't really like not being able to, you know, vault windows and chase, get animation locked, get hit. That does happen for a lot of killers. The same thing with her, you know, you gotta bait pallets. You either winds up out of pallet or don't. I don't really like those 50-50 mind games between the players. It's a little bit boring in terms of Huntress because she's far more ranged. There are some exceptions to that, which I'll get into a lot later. It might make me sound a little bit hypocritical, but you'll know what I mean when I get into it. But I just think the ranged killers are very boring. She's very good at camping hooks, even from a distance. I think that when a Huntress freaking sits on a hill 40 meters away with a hatchet wound up at the hook, like, come the fuck on, bro. Why else would you be playing that killer? She's just so easy farming people going for the unhooks too. Like, it's just so boring. I would really rather not go against Huntress. They all run aura reading builds because they are just not confident in their abilities to be able to track, you know, through walls, all this other things. They just need free aura reading to go for shots through like nooks and crannies. So it doesn't really feel that skillful to me. And I'll just leave it at that. The next killer on this list is the Unknown, if I can find him. Here he is. Or here they are. This killer can be a little bit fun and chase, but the reason he's in the mid tier is because he's just so inconsistent. I need to watch some more Unknown mains to see if there's some more strategy to it, but I'll be going against some Unknowns, and these balls he shoots at me can just bounce in some random directions. Sometimes he'll like shoot it at me, it'll bounce on the floor, bounce off the wall, and hit me across the pallet. It's like, that wasn't even intentional, it just kind of happened. Now, the one reason he's down here, the main reason, is that even though they do have some sort of anti-camp in the game to like prevent his little dudes or their little dudes being by the hook, it dissipates them if he like you get hooked near them. It's still not enough because even though I get hooked, there's still one of the phantoms like 10 meters from my hook. His ability to go back to the hook so fast from across the map is ridiculous. It's miserable, it's bullshit, and I hate it. I don't know how they can rework it. The only way that I could foresee is if they go back and change the range at which his phantoms despawn in proximity to the hook, or they just give him a massive fucking penalty if he teleports back to the hook after an unhook happens. But I don't know how they would code that, and you know, as much as I respect behavior, I don't think they could do something like that. That's the main reason that he's in. Next up is Clown. Clown is a very basic M1 killer, and I have a big hard-on for M1 killers, but Clown's problem comes from mostly his add-ons and the vision effect. A lot of them love running aura bottles. It feels so brain dead. It doesn't matter what I do or how I play against a Clown. They just see my aura, and I just die because I'm so slow. Another thing is a lot of them just throw, you know, the bottle at the pallet, and they will just bloodlust you around it. And a lot of time, I'm sitting there trying to see him, and I just got hit by a bottle. I can't see shit. I'm disoriented. Like, I know that's kind of the point, but like, holy crap. Not being able to see is so disorienting, even when you get hit. Just not really a pleasant experience. I think the slowdown would be enough. I don't know why my screen has to be blasted in pink shit, but fortunately, that's just the way he's designed. I feel like I have to pre-drop against him a lot. Sometimes pre-dropping even can be worse depending on what kind of a loop it is, if it's a junk tile or if it's a jungle gem. They also gave him more bottles in his base kit, so just like Huntress, he's a lot harder to go against. Next on this list is Spirit. Spirit is one of those killers where if they don't run add-ons, you can actually be pretty fun to play against, but even with her sound cue, she's just so fast. Maybe with the Iron Will rework coming, It'll be a lot better to go against. Maybe I'll have more fun. But I don't see spirits a lot anymore, which is cool. She's just so fast because of add-ons and her recharge and duration. It's just, even if I know where she's coming from, she just is so fast. So much duration. Doesn't matter if I throw the pallet on the correct side, she loops all the way back around, or she tries to loop back and doubles back. You know, I feel like even though I play relatively properly against a spirit, I just still end up dying. Unfortunately, this is where I'm going to put her. She can be interactive sometimes, but I mean, her add-ons just make her so annoying to go against. And let's be real, the last time we went against an add-onless spirit is probably never. They tend to stack those add-ons. So next on the list is Deathslinger. Kind of similar to Huntress, but different in a lot of ways. His spear wouldn't be so bad if every single one of them that I went against wasn't running, like, you know, the reload add-ons. Dodging his spear doesn't really seem that rewarding. I do like that they increased his tear radius. He's a lot easier to avoid. His ability to get you injured with his spear without needing to reel you in and hit you kind of does suck. I wish he got more. I mean, he does get the fatigue for breaking his spear, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like enough. The one thing that I do like about him compared to Huntress is that I feel like I can actually vault windows if I'm far enough. He can obviously spear you through windows, but you can use windows a lot easier against him. He can make some pretty crazy plays around pallets. Really, all he has to do is hold ADS and bait you into the, you know, vaulting the pallet. And then if you don't vault the pallet, he can just unwind it, you know, put the gun down and M1 you, or he can just shoot you and drag you to him. It's not really that interactive, but one thing that I will say is that if you get into a really good chase with him and just start dodging all of his shots, it can become pretty clunch hearing that gunshot behind you. It could be fun, but, you know, this is one of the killers I load in and I'm just like, I just really would rather not. All right, next on this list is Big Boy Blight. Blight's a lot more tolerable since he got nerfed, but he's still in the meta tier. Bro can go Mach 200 speed across the map. The way he can go around loops is still a little bit ridiculous. Breaking a Blight's ankles is really fun, but like if you go against a good Blight, you just kind of sit there and twiddle your thumbs like, man, I would really just rather not be in this match. He's a more balanced version of Nurse, but he's just too oppressive. Honestly, I think that if they gave him the ability, if they removed his ability to break pallets with his face, I think he'd actually be balanced. Maybe a little more enjoyable to go against. It's that pallet break in his power that just really just nails Coffin shut for me. But now that they took out Hug Tech, he's more tolerable to go against. But I still hate him. His speed, just so boring. Killers with speed often just use it to go back to the hook. I don't know. Just never have that good of experience against Blights. Now, next on this list, we do have the Chuckster. I just don't have a good time looping him. He's really small, you know, hard to see. The mind games are just not there. Dodging his dash isn't that bad. But all of them also run the aura when dashing add-on, which makes us skillful. He's just in a really weird place. I'm glad he can't scamper under the pallets anymore, but it's the main thing of just getting stealth so fast, being so small, and just having that really, really, really long dash. I don't know. I don't like looping him. I don't like playing against him. Most of them that I play against just are relatively annoying to go against. I just don't like their playstyle. Not a fan. All right, next on this list is going to be, once I find it, the Knight. I haven't checked him on the PTB yet for his changes. He might be more pleasant to go against, but honestly, this killer is just such a disaster. His Knights are so buggy. They'll teleport. They'll get stuck. A lot of the time, he just uses them in chase to zone you. They'll try to get the double taps on you. It doesn't feel like a skillful interaction. If you can get the banner, it can be really fun. But overall, this killer is just so clunky, not consistent. Every time I go against the knight, I don't know what kind of experience I'm going to have. And I just don't like it. If he was less clunky, less buggy, I might have more fun going against him. But he's just one of those killers that's just up in the air. Because you know what the fuck's going to go on in the match. And I just don't like going against a lot of them, to be fair. Usually my experiences with knights are just unpleasant. Don't like his power. Not interactive. I'll just, leave it at that. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up the meh tier list with one more killer. And that is going to be, drumroll, Agatha. Now, Hag players are a special breed. You're either running into a Franklin's Demise trapping the item's Hag, or you're running into a trap every hook 700 times Hag. The thing that's most frustrating about Hag is probably the fact that people don't know you can erase her traps. They don't know how to crouch to the traps. They don't know that if you run towards a trap holding the S key, basically running backwards, and then trigger the trap will change your camera motion to where once your camera changes and you have the S key held, you'll actually start immediately running in the maximum opposite direction of the Hag trap, and she probably won't be able to teleport and M1 you. Even if she's using scroll wheel, you have a lot of distance. People just don't know these niche things against Hag, and she can really just stomp pubs because they don't know how to disable the traps, they don't know how to check for them. They just be running all over the place. Hag is just usually a disaster, especially when she gets a basement hook, because you can run down there. You just trigger all the traps and they just yoink your camera in every direction. You get really disoriented. You end up not being able to unhook the guy because your camera's being yoinked left, right, fucking up, down into your penis. It just goes everywhere. It's not pleasant. Hag is just one of those killers. Very tiny tier radius too. Don't like her. Would rather play against anything else. All right, buddies, let's go ahead and move into our tolerable killers. These are killers that I load into and I'm just like, okay, this is cool. I don't mind going against this killer. It can be a fun experience. Could be unpleasant. Really just more depends on the killer playing the killer, right? The person playing the killer, what kind of experience they have to give you, what kind of perks they're running. I know that kind of applies to all of them, but it applies more so to these killers, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and start it up. Up there is going to be Wraith. I used to have so much fun going against Wraith when flashbangs burnt him out of his cloak because it was like dropping a tactical nuke on his toes. So funny. Like, I'm telling you, if Wraith didn't get that light burn nerf or buff or whatever the fuck, I would have him in Yes Please God. But unfortunately, with that nerf, I put him in tolerable. Really depends on what kind of add-ons they're running. Hit and run Wraiths can be kind of boring. So the fact that he's just your regular M1 killer, baiting him, regular chases, mind games, he can be very fun. His lunge out of uncloak can be very scary. He has tons of different add-ons to vary his play style. So the Wraith you're going against, you never know if you're going against a hit and run, a fucking silent Wraith, a map wide bing bong Wraith, fast uncloak, super speed Wraith. So many different ways to play Wraith that can be pretty tolerable, but he can also be pretty fucking awful. So that's why he's here. I just love the M1 killer aspect. I love looping him. I love that interaction. We have Trapper next. Trapper is tolerable. It's one of those things where a good or a bad Trapper can really just change the way you feel about the game. Stepping into a trap over and over can be very miserable, but if you just take away the traps and go into the M1 aspect, having chases with M1 killers is just never a bad thing. Very fun to loop. Very fun if the Trapper is not very good and you slide past some of his traps. Most miserable part of Trapper is when they play Basement Trapper, of course. It's just like, bro, come on, really doing it to us. He does have some annoying add-ons. I don't like the one where people get injured when they disarm traps. It feels like a load of shit. It's like, okay, well, being injured forever is really difficult. And you have to disarm his traps, so you don't really have a choice. You can always do things like 90-90 or heal and then disarming the traps. But that's why he's tolerable for me. The chases can be fun, but it's one of those things where you either step in a trap really early and you're like, well, I guess I'll go fuck myself, or you go on a really long chase and you're like, damn, I'm having fun against this trapper. We're not going to the basement. Overall, a good time. Even if you die, get some good loops in, you know. That's how I feel about him. Next on the list is Artist. Most of the time, I have a pretty mid experience with Artist. She's tolerable. I don't actually run into a lot of artists that camp. I feel like Artist is the killer that I run into that just camps the least. I don't think I've ever said, yeah, this artist is really just camping us a lot. She usually goes across the map. She goes for bird plays. It's really fun to juke her birds. And it feels really rewarding too, because she goes on a really long cooldown. So not only can you juke the first set of birds that swarms you, but if you get hit by the swarm and then you juke her birds after that, now she has to hit the swarm again and hit another one. And she's an M1 killer on top of that. Very fun interactions. Sometimes it can be really annoying, but for the most part, I usually have a pleasant time against the artist. It's just one of those killers that can be obnoxious in certain loops where you just feel like you can't do anything, but the interaction is there. When you outplay her, it feels really... All right, let's move on to the Cenobite. The Cenobite is hit or miss. Most of the time, as long as you keep juggling the box properly, he has some fun chases. He's just an M1 killer that has a chain. If he hits you with the chains every single time, you probably have a miserable experience, but a lot of time he doesn't miss his chains, and dodging the chains, watching him like hit the wall or his chain go in the complete opposite direction honestly makes for a pretty hilarious interaction. I like going against Cenobite. He's pretty, like I said, tolerable. Downsides, he has some add-ons that let him tunnel all easily. For example, the one where you break the chain and get deep wound. Don't like that. But he doesn't really have many overwhelming add-ons. It's fun to go against, in my opinion. That's pretty much it. When he gets the box, the game can suck, but for the most part, yeah. Tolerable. Fun to go against. Next on the list, Pyramidhead. Pyramidhead is very tolerable. I don't run into a lot of them that love to tunnel with their cages anymore. That used to be the playstyle. Not really that much. Pyramidhead is one of those killers where you have to do, in my opinion, what is called a predictive dodge or a bait. You kind of have to guess where he's going to, do his thing through the wall or through a window. Because a lot of the time, unless you have a lot of distance, you can't react, right? So let's say I vault Killer Shack window with just enough time, and then he puts his, he does his ranged attack through the window. And I guess left or right. If he angles it to his right, but my left, or whatever way I'm facing, and I run into it, I'll get hit. But if I predict and go the other way, I won't get hit. Those are one of those 50-50 mind games where I can't make the killer or the Pyramidhead swing it one way. You just have to hope that you bait him enough that he just misses, right? It's not really a reactionary power. It's something that you just have to make him miss, but you don't dodge, if that makes sense. I don't mind him. I'll put him there. I don't like how most of them are running pain res, though, and they put you on hooks. Like, bro, use your thing. Put people in cages. I think that's fun. I wish more Pyramid Heads did it instead of, doing their Grim Embrace pain pop bullshit. But, people who rely on slowdowns will be people who rely on slowdowns. Next up is Freddy. Freddy is also tolerable. He has good mobility, which honestly, good for him. The ability to fake it is kind of frustrating when he keeps faking your fucking generator over and over. The reason he's intolerable is because his power is kind of not that interactive. He has the Dream Snares, which is very similar to Clown, just less disorienting. Just a kind of boring power. Dream Palettes, also kind of boring, because I don't know what's real and what's not real, unless I'm in a Swift or I know what palettes were up beforehand because I looked. I don't really like running to palettes and just being like, is this fake? I don't know. Oh, it's fake. Guess I died. I love playing as Freddy, but like playing against him, he's, like I said, just tolerable. Basic M1 killer, but his power lacks interaction. That's how I would put it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one on this list. Let's go to the Oni. Now, the Oni is a very similar style to Hillbilly, but he's not on the please delete this killer tier. The reason is that he actually has to work for his power. Trying to deny the Oni his power for as long as possible is a fun little mini game, because if you can do it for long enough, you just win. If you get it immediately, then you lose, assuming the Oni is any good. The prerequisite to his power makes him a lot more balanced, a little bit more tolerable to go against. Compared to Hillbilly, Hillbilly just has everything at the start of the match. For some reason, they reworked him and made him stronger than Oni, even though Oni's power is gate-kept by the requirements, as it is strong, so I don't know where they went wrong with that. But I think that stunning him with a pallet should decrease some of his power gauge. I think that'd be a fun interaction. But for the most part, he's okay to play against. But he can be pretty miserable once he gets his power, depending on his add-ons too. He could have speed, top knot. There's just a lot of interactions where, just depending on the add-ons, he could go down to not tolerable, or you could just have a fun match. If you go against somebody who's very good at Oni and just fucking 180 flicks you, just kind of sit there like, okay, well, I'm not really having fun. So that's kind of how I feel about him. All right. This killer lineup is falling shortly. The Plague. The most fun part about the Plague is that she will respect every single pallet in her power. I have not seen, well, I mean, I've seen a few, but there's no psychopath Plague that just is going to waltz through a pallet with her power. And I think it's fucking hilarious to just run her through a pallet over and over and over again. Obviously, when she's in her purge, or her corrupt purge, vile purge, I don't. Whenever she has it, if you're at a junk tile, you probably get shit on. But if you're at a jungle gym or any place with a wall, she becomes very weak. Now, they can also be a slowdown Plague, where they just run Thanatophobia and they make your life miserable. So she can be intolerable very, very fast. But for the most part, she can be just a regular M1 killer if she doesn't have her corrupt. If she has her corrupt, then you can have fun just mind gaming her at pallets, making her respect every single one. Alright guys, I know I've been talking a lot, but it's time to move on to our killers that we might actually not be complaining about. Alright, so the first killer on this list is Michael Myers. I like going against Michael Myers because he starts off weak. Outside of Scratch Mirror. People who play Scratch Mirror, I don't really have fun against it because it's boring. Most people use it to camp through walls on Larry's. They realize Scratch Mirror isn't that strong and then they just camp people. Okay, there's my complaining out of the way. The rest of it, when you play actual Myers, is fun to go against. Him starting off weaker, having to stalk you, playing a little peekaboo around corners, having him, suck you. Just a very, very pleasant experience. The one downside is, a lot of them do run Tuft of Hair for Infinite Tier 3, or they run Tombstone. Yeah, they can be kind of annoying, but I just jump into a locker and deny their power. And people do all the gens. Most of the time, it's a pleasant experience. They spend a lot of time stalking unless the teammate gives them all of their stock. If you get 99 or your teammate gives him 99 power and he goes over to you and pops it immediately, it can suck. But the thing is if you're always prepared for that, being clinched, never knowing when he has his power 99, it's just a very pleasant experience. Outside of that, he's just an M1 killer that can vault faster in Tier 3 and has a longer lunge. I like the interaction. I like looping him. Overall fun killer. Alright, next in this tier list is going to be Sadako, or the Onryo. The Onryo, in my opinion, is fun to go against. They definitely changed her quite a lot. They've made her chase more important because she can lock in stacks of your tape. Whenever I spawn in, I grab a tape immediately, and I try to keep my condemned stacks as low as possible. This little mini game between her teleporting and stacks is really fun because outside of that, she's just a regular M1 killer. I like looping her. The downside of this is that when my teammates don't realize that they need to do a tape and they haven't done a tape all game and they get worried, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll go fuck myself because my teammates have no idea what they're doing. But for the most part, I love playing against Onryo because I know how to play against her because I'm a Prestige 100 Onryo. I just love playing her. Love playing against her because she's easy to counter if you know what you're doing. All right, next in this list is the Mastermind, aka Mr. Albert Whiskers. I love Wesker. He has such a personality. I love being chased by him, hearing all of his voice lines, stunning him. Like, I don't know, it's just something about him. It's just really fun. Now, a lot of people also love playing as Wesker, so the downside is he's very popular, so you play against him a lot, so it can get kind of tiresome. But I like Wesker. He's fun. The most funny thing in Dead by Daylight that can ever happen is you fake him into vaulting a window with his power. That will never not be the funniest thing on the entire fucking planet. I love it. So funny. I like playing against Wesker. I'll go ahead and leave it at that. Demogorgon. I like going against Demogorgon. He has a very simplistic chase style. M1 and then a dash. I like the dash. It doesn't go through fucking walls. It doesn't go through windows. It doesn't go over windows. It's just very interactive. You can bait him the same way you bait Wesker. I like playing against him. His portals can be a little bit annoying because a lot of them can just teleport back to the hook. Or if they get a basement hook, some of them will portals. But for the most part, I have fun against him. His pallet breaking is fine. It's kind of like Blight's, but a lot more balanced because the Demogorgon doesn't go 20,000 miles an hour. So I like being chased by him. Very interactive. And overall, a good experience. All right, let's move to the next one on the list. And as I'm slowly realizing, there are so many killers in this fucking game, my throat is getting sore from talking. So, Ghostface. I'm going to start off with the bad things. One bad thing. His reveal hitbox can be very annoying sometimes. Don't like it. Can be obnoxious. But there's something about him being a basic M1 killer and trying to outlast his mark when he marks you is exciting. I like that thrill of outlasting his stalk. I like being on edge, not knowing where he is. I love seeing his little face peek at me from around a corner when I'm least expecting it. It's just funny. Ghostface is a very comedy killer. I like playing against him. His running animation is kind of silly. Overall, I have a good time playing against him, so he is definitely in my preferable tab of killers to go against. The Dredge. I like the Dredge because he is a very unique killer, and that's pretty much it. He's just so unique. Teleporting the lockers, being able to lock them, having counterplay, even his anti-loop, being able to fake his teleport or run through if he's tunneling somebody. You can run through his little mist body that he leaves behind while he's trying to mind game and he can't teleport back to it. Like, he has a lot of fun interactions, and Nightfall is very scary. I love it. Overall, good killer to play against. I don't really not like him, or how do I phrase this? There's not really a lot of downsides to going against him. He can have some add-ons like making Nightfall last 20. Whatever. Happens. Next on my preferable to go against is the Xenomorph. I like the Xenomorph. I think he's like adorable, especially when he memes around with you. His tail is kind of similar to Nemesis. Baiting it is very fun. I've always loved Alien as a series, so I think I just have a little bit of biasness when going against him. Placements of the turrets. A lot of people aren't very good with their placements of the turrets, but getting him out with the turrets definitely is also very, very satisfying. Dodging his tail is satisfying. He does lose a bit of distance. It is unfortunate when you dodge his tail, but he's still able to body block with his body, but that's okay. Overall, the chase interactions with him are fun. If you can turret him, either get him to leave you or chase him as a regular M1 killer, that's cool too. Also, when he tries to teleport back to the hook, he has a very, very increased time of coming out of his little egg sack thing. Teleport tunnel, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So, all in all, fun killer to go against. Next on this list, Vecna. I know a lot of people don't like Vecna and don't think he has a lot of counters, but the more I play against him, the more counters I realize he has. I like the RNG aspect too, because you can get haste gloves, you can get see the dispelling sphere, you can roll 20s and get the legendary items, which have some very fun interactions. Overall, interacting with him is fun. Pre-throwing pallets against Mage Hand makes his Mage Hand way weaker. Dodging his skeletons. If you can dodge his skeletons and then outlast his Mage Hand on a pallet, he's pretty much useless. for like 20 or 30 seconds. So if you can manage that, he becomes a regular M1 killer. So I love him. Love going against him. Love the RNG. Love the theme. Overall, pretty cool. And one thing as well, he has Matthew Mercer as his voice actor, which is a voice actor that does some voices in World of Warcraft, and he actually voiced one of the final bosses of the most recent tier. His name is Farak. Very fun to go against because like I hear his voice and I'm like just correlate the two. Matthew Mercer has such a good voice. One thing I enjoy about him as well. All right, next up on this list is the Singularity. I don't know what his changes are on the PTB, so I can't say if the PTB changes are going to make him more or less fun, but I do like going against Singularity. He has some decent counterplay with the remotes, the odds things, the EMPs, that's what they're called. Baiting him to teleport as you vault a window so he's stuck on the other side. Very fun. Making it to a pallet and throwing it and making him swing, not getting stunned, not breaking the pallet while he's in overdrive is fun. Overall, he turns into an M1 killer. I like him. I like the fact that there's a lot of play when it comes to helping your teammates and being altruistic with the EMPs. Just the teamwork that is introduced, very versatile. I'm very much like that aspect. I just have a good time versing him. I don't really have matches where I'm like, wow, I don't want to play against the Singularity. This is so annoying. So the last one on this list, and I bet you guys are looking at this like, what the fuck? Skull Merchant's not there yet? Is Skull Merchant. No, I know a lot of you guys have some hate for Skull Merchant. Let me put you in your place real quick. I think a lot of people who hate Skull Merchant hated the previous version of Skull Merchant the same way they did against the Legion. They hated Release Legion. They carry their hate bias into the reworks, and they're like, oh, I still hate this killer, even though the killer is nothing like they were on release. Skull Merchant, in my opinion, is fine. I like it going against her. She's an M1 killer. Even if her drones fucking tag me, I don't really care. I have a good time against her just because of the M1 aspect. You can use pallets against her easily. The drones are kind of easy to disarm. The one change that I would love to see is that if I disarm a drone, it should disappear, right? The other downside of Skull Merchant is that for some reason my teammates, I don't know if the killer's just too complicated or people just don't put the time into learning, but my teammates get broken by her claw traps all the fucking time. It's like I'll be just looping or unhooking people and I'll be like, oh, there goes Jake Park. Fucking got injured by the claw trap again when he's not even being chased. Like, I don't know if people just don't know how to play against her, but if you know how to play against her and not get claw trapped, like, she's fine. She's not that bad. People like insinuate she's just this bad, oppressive, annoying, broken killer, but she's just an M1 killer that has some drones. It's really not that big of a deal. So I like going against her. I would prefer to go against her. My teammates can make it kind of annoying though. All right, that does end it for the preferable, and we're just moving into the please, God, yes, please give me this killer. Please, 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 please. I'll beg, I'll get on my knees, I'll lick, okay. Anyways, so let's go ahead and move on to please, yes, God. I love versing the Nemesis. I love his chase music. I love his interactions. He's just like Myers. He starts off weak, grows in power. His zombies can be sometimes a little silly. I love baiting him at windows. I just love baiting his whip in general. Something about making him raise his whip at pallets over and over and over again. It's just so funny. And he's just so big. When he punches you, it's so funny. I just love going against him. Something about just watching a Nemesis run in the distance. He's just so goofy looking. I love Nemesis. I like going against him. I always have a good time. I will always love going against a Nemesis. His tier 3 whip can be a bit oppressive, but honestly, fun killer. I love him. So I would go against Nemesis every day of the week. Next on this tier list is Leatherface. I love going against Leatherface. Most Leatherface players are very silly, even though they do run Bamboozle. Bamboozle bot brain is what I like to call it. It's very funny. It will vault almost every window, making you get a lot of distance because you can just run. Because you don't have to mind game. You know they're just going to vault the window. The thing I love most about him is trying to bait him into going through a pallet while he's doing his chainsaw sweep, because if you get that pallet stun on him and when he's doing his power, it's very satisfying. I also love the memes around him, how he like face camps so much. Even if I get face camped by a Leatherface, it's like one of those prophecy fulfilling things where it's like I don't even get mad because it's funny. Like, oh, it's a Leatherface, of course he's camping. I don't know, I just have fun looping him. He's like Billy's lethality a little bit with the one-shot chainsaw, but it's actually a little more balanced, even after he got buffed. I just like going against him. I don't really have any drawbacks. Making him hit a wall, dodging into lockers, all just very interactive in my opinion. Alright, next on this list, we have the Doctor. I think that the Doctor is probably one of the most balanced killers in the game. I love going against the Doctor. Some of his add-ons can be a little bit oppressive, but overall, for the most part, he feels like he has a lot of counterplay, especially around pallets. A lot of people don't understand the latency that comes with the shock. They don't understand the delay between when he shoots it out of his hand and when it actually shocks you on the floor. There's a lot of counterplay that comes around when it comes to the precision of which side to throw the pallet on, when you can throw the pallet, how much time between when you get shocked and when you can throw the pallet or when you can vault a window. Overall, in my opinion, very interactive M1 killer. I love going against him. Madness tier 3 with the heartbeat in your ear can be obnoxious, but like I don't mind going against Doctor. I seriously don't have a problem with it. I love going against him. Don't mind going against him. We'll go against him every day, just like all these other killers. And of course, the final killer on this list is the Legion. And you could say I'm biased because I used to be a Legion, but I feel the same way playing him as I do playing him. I love going against a Legion, even though, you know, slowdown builds can be obnoxious, but that's not really a necessity for the killer itself or the person. Just the base kit of the Legion is fine to go against, as long as you know the intricacies. Whatever, you guys know what word I'm trying to say. As long as you understand everything there is to know about the Legion, his general duration, ways to counterplay him, you know, locker jukes. Don't ever throw a pallet while you're healthy against the Legion. Just don't do it. There's fucking no point. If you get the stun, yay, good for you, but like if you don't get the stun, it's just a waste. And then once he finishes his Chain Frenzy, he just turns into an M1 killer. I love M1 killers. Fucking chase me, bro. I love looping killers. I love mind games. I love basic M1 killers. And that's basically all Legion is. You know, if you're comfortable being injured, then you'll be comfortable playing against the Legion. As long as you don't cry about having to mend every few seconds. Every now and then it's fine. So, this is my fun, diverse tier list. Obviously, people are going to disagree with it. Fuck the Hillbilly. Hillbilly, fuck you, you piece of shit. Go die. Burn in hell. Light on fire. I don't care. Out of all the killers in this tier list, my favorite, most favorite to go against. It's hard to pick out of these ones, but I'd narrow it down to Leatherface or Nemesis. I love these two killers a lot, so that's my tier list. Let me know what you guys like going against down in the comments. What do you hate going against? I must know. And also, feel free to yell at me. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong. Feel free to tell me actually putting pig in meh is cringe, because you can boop the snoot actually. So yeah, feel free to, you know, have conversations. Obviously, don't bash people over fucking opinions. This is a completely subjective tier list, except for my opinion. My opinion is always right. I've never been my entire life. Everything is factual in this tier list, completely based off of facts, logic, no personal feelings involved at all. So with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see another tier list of this style, whether it's the most fun killers to play, whether it's power, what do you guys want to see? Give me some video ideas down in the comments as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed ASMR. This has been recording for so fucking long. Jesus Christ, this took me forever. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you live, whatever time you are watching this video. See ya.